Hi everyone, I'm Sanu Sagar. I'm a designer and animator at Rive, and today I'll show you how to build your own motion design features using Rive's scripting and AI agent. So I think I'll create one of my most favorite motion design feature, which is Cloner. So, just to give you a brief understanding of how Cloner works, a cloner is a tool found in motion design softwares that lets you generate multiple copies of a single object automatically and control how all of those copies look, move, and behave from one place. Think of it as a smart duplication system. Instead of manually copying and positioning each object, the cloner handles distribution, spacing, rotation, and even animation for each copy at once. So, next, we'll need to create a prompt that we'll use to generate the cloner script. In this prompt, we'll specify all the things we want the script to include, basically a wish list of features. So I've referenced these properties and parameters from popular motion design softwares. So things like a pattern, count, offset, and a lot of other things. Okay, so next we need to copy this prompt and add it to Rive's agent, and we can hit start on this. Okay, so the script building is done now. So as you can see, the AI is giving you an overview of the script, like how it works, the purpose, um, you know, the patterns it has created, which we asked for. Okay, so let's try our script on a path and see how it works. So you click on the shape and you go to this fill and stroke and you find an icon on the left. There you can find an effects tab, and you can see there's a path effect uh, option here. So you click on plus, you go down and you can find the script effects on the bottom, and there we can find our script we just created, path cloner. We click on that, and okay, okay, so the script is working now. So you can reduce the offset maybe to bring it back in the artboard, and it's working now. The only thing is the angle is not right, so maybe we can change the angle and see. Okay, 90 seems to be the right angle, and yeah, like you can see it's working totally fine. So it's working just like a Cinema 4D's cloner. You can decrease or increase the count. You can change the source rotation, which you just did. You can also change the start scale uh, and end scale. It's working totally fine. It's a start angle. So, and this is probably for the grid pattern. So let's try if we can do a grid pattern. So let's just go back and like reset these things. So if we change it to grid, so it is working. That's great. And if we reset force rotation, so you can see like the grid column is also working, and you can change the count to whatever you want, and you can bring it in the center. This should be all procedural, which means if we change the size of it, so you can see like all the cloners are being all the clones are being affected, uh, when I'm changing the source. So anything, if I'm changing the rotation, you can see it's working totally fine. Increase or decrease the size. All right, so let's try our script with some animations. So I have a very simple triangle shape, and I'm applying some opacity and scale keyframes on it. And now I'm gonna add our cloner script uh, and see how it works. So I click on that. Uh, I have the clone is working. The offset might not be right, so we can go back into the path and reduce the offset to 30-ish. And we also need to make sure the triangles are facing outwards, so we're gonna have to turn on the rotate clone and set the rotation to maybe 90 degree, so it kind of like points outwards. Okay, so we also want the arrows to kind of like move outwards, so it's kind of like an explosion. So we'll add some keyframes to offset. So let's say here and go back in here, we can set to 0, so it kind of like moves outwards. If something is not working properly, maybe if I do 2, does it work? Yeah. So you can see like it's kind of like exploding. So this is working very well with animations. So again, now you have all the flexibility, so you can go back in and change the count to whatever counts you want. And like the animation will update itself. You can also go inside the path, the original path, and maybe scale it up. um, and you will have a completely different animation instantly. So yeah, it kind of like if you had to do it manually, like if you had to do it, imagine you had to make all these layers, and then you animate something, and then let's say you had to change the shape, then you had to go back in and apply all the keyframes to each and every one, which could have which could make it really tedious, and definitely not an efficient way to do it. So yeah, see how well it's working. Using path effect on a single path is fine, but what if you have to apply the same effect on multiple shapes with multiple fills, and you want to control that path effect on all the shapes and fills at once? So Rive has effect group, which will allow you to do that. So an effect group is basically a container that lets you apply visual effects to multiple objects together. Um, Instead of adding the same effect individually to each shape or layer, think of it like an adjustment layer in After Effects, or a group effect in Figma. Okay, so let's see how it works. So I have a group of three shapes, and each shape has like multiple fills, and I'm animating these in here, as you can see. So let's apply the cloner effect we made, the cloner script we made on this one. So I'm gonna first call it cloner, and then I'm gonna select the group, and I'm gonna right click and find add group effect. There we can find our cloner script, so we can click on that. Now looks like it's applied to it. So if I go in here, and then if I reduce the offset, you can see it's being applied on that particular group. So now, um, like we did earlier, we can again go ahead and like change the properties here to whatever we want. So let's say -90. So it's kind of like pointing inwards, and like basically you have all the control to change it. So you can change it. You can of course increase, decrease the offset, and you can also change the size. Say 0.5, 0.5. So you can imagine how powerful this script can be. It can save you huge amount of manual work. um, so instead of duplicating and animating each element individually, you control everything through parameters like count, offset, rotation, etc. This makes it easy to create patterns, procedural animation, and repeating UI elements. So I hope this tutorial gave you an idea of how you can create your own custom tools using scripting, uh, helping you build complex motion design elements in no time. Thank you so much for watching.